Welcome to Teak Marine. Today I want to talk to you about the importance of using high quality teak and how to select the right teak deck battens when you're making a deck on your own, or when you're looking at a deck you may have on your boat. You might want to talk about the teak that you have, or if you're looking for somebody, a company like Teak Marine, to provide you with a teak deck. This is basically a tutorial on the kind of teak that we use in our decks that we make here. So first and foremost, the teak that we use is Tectona grandis. That is the most common type of teak that has been grown for thousands of years around the world. All of the teak that I use for Teak Marine has been purchased in Asia. Every piece of teak that you see behind me has been hand selected. I'll go to the mill myself. I'll look at it in the proper light conditions. I'll check the moisture content, and I'll literally pick and flip every piece of wood that we've got. So we really don't have any bad teak here at Teak Marine, but I just want to show you some of the stuff that I'm looking for and that you should be looking for when it comes to getting a teak deck. Here's an example of a teak deck batten in front of me, and the first thing that you probably want to look at is the color of the teak. For the most part, people are looking for golden teak. You can get teak that is quite dark, and sometimes a client will be looking for that. We call that a chocolate teak. You also can find teak with what we call tiger striping in it. That you want to avoid. That has dark streaks in with a blonder wood. But for the most part, I'm using golden teak. The second thing that you want to look for is to make sure that the teak is quarter sawn. And that's simply the way that when they cut the log, they flip it and they rotate it, so they're getting the maximum amount of yield for the wood that has the tightest vertical grain running the length of the board. And as you can see in this particular piece of teak that I've got here, the vertical grain is running from the top to the bottom. That's what I'm looking for, as straight as possible. That's very important. And the other thing to look for is how tight together are those lines. And you can see right here, this is a 2-inch batten, and I'm going to look for anywhere from 10 to 20 lines per inch. Now the reason why you want to have those vertical grain running the length of the board and you want to have it tight is because over time on a teak deck, if you start to sand the deck side to side, anything that's between those two lines, which is what we call the soft part, will start to come out. So therefore, the tighter the lines that you have on the teak deck battens, the longer that your deck is going to last. So you could essentially have a very poor quality teak deck made with lousy wood that might last 10 or 15 years, or you can get superior quality wood like we have here at Teak Marine, and your deck's going to last you anywhere from 30 to 50 years, and that's just from a 12 to 14 millimeter deck. So that's pretty much the example that we're looking for. As I say, what you don't want to have, this piece is pretty much perfect, but the other thing that we're looking for, we don't want any imperfections. And when I say imperfections, the number one thing that you don't want to see in a teak deck is a knot. And a knot of any size just doesn't qualify, because over time that knot is going to pop out. And I have seen some shocking teak decks on boats larger than 150 feet that have all kinds of knots in them. And usually this comes from somebody that's tried to cut corners. They've gone to their local mill, they've purchased the teak at the local hardwood store, and they've pretty much purchased whatever's there, then they've cut it into the battens and they've laid it out. When we make a teak deck here at Teak Marine, we probably have a good 30 to 40% waste. And that's even after I've gone and selected the wood in Asia and brought it back here. And the reason that is because you can get a longer length, but there might even be a small imperfection in there that you're going to have to cut out. You could have mineral that doesn't show up until you cut the boards open. You could have tiger striping, as I've seen before. There are bee holes, there are worm holes, there are all kinds of things that can come into play. So you've got to be very, very careful when it comes to selecting the teak for your teak deck. And as you can see here at Teak Marine, we go and select nothing but the finest teak.